Same ecology for essentially for 1.8 million years. So they were really the perfect group to answer these questions with.
What Sampson and his team discovered is that the Hadza sleep at all kinds of times, not just at night.
We found something quite surprising, in fact. We found that their sleep was incredibly asynchronous. So by this I mean that it was very, very rare that any of the individuals were asleep all at the same time.
But why? The answer may be that life back then was really dangerous, and it made sense for somebody to always be on watch. By contrast, young people in advanced societies tend to stay up late and sleep late, while the elderly seem to go to sleep early and get up early.
As it turns out,
by contrast, young people in advanced societies tend to stay up late and sleep late, while the elderly seem to go to sleep early and get up early.
As it turns out, this may have been an adaptive behavior, this short fragmented sleep in elderly individuals and this shift to a more lark-like pattern. It may have been beneficial in an evolutionary context.
Sleep, it turns out, has never been a one-size-fits-all kind of a thing.
If there's one clinical jewel that we think emerges from this research, is that it normalizes variation in sleep patterns in humans. So we have this bias, this sort of propensity in the West to look at anything outside that bell curve that's non-normal and to label it or categorize it perhaps as a sleep disorder in this context.
And that much-needed afternoon nap may be a holdover from a time when staying awake at night meant everyone woke up alive. Kevin Enochs, VOA News. Advanced societies tend to stay up late and sleep. By contrast, young people in advanced societies tend to stay up late and sleep late, while the elderly seem to go to sleep early and get up early.
As it turns out, this may have been
There's a lot of people out there claiming to know the best diet based on what our ancestors ate. But how do we separate the hogwash from the history? Hey guys, Julia here for D News. There are some people who would like to make inferences on how we should live based on some ideal past. Take a recent trendy diet. The basic tenets of the paleo diet come from a few current hunter-gatherer societies, suggesting we should eat more like we did before the invention of agriculture. And we want an easy answer for how we should live, or more specifically eat, but the real story is so much more complex. So what does evidence say ancient humans ate? From looking at teeth, skull fragments, environmental conditions, and even computer models, our ancestors lived in a wide range of habitats, leading to a variety in diets. Optimal foraging theory suggests that diet is influenced by a food's value and its distribution within the habitat. For most of human history, we were hunter-gatherers, well, mostly gatherers. Before 4 million years ago, our ancestors ate a surprising amount of fruits and leaves, similar to how chimps eat now. Researchers found isotopic evidence in teeth enamel of a transition around 3.5 million years ago. Early hominid species started expanding their diets. They added other plants like tubers, roots, and succulents. The researchers had to add that perhaps these isotopes are from early animals they ate that ate those plants. Speaking of meat, it's not certain when meat entered early humans' diet. Whether hunted or scavenged, researchers find evidence of marks on animal bones dating back 2.6 million years. A skull found in Tanzania dating back 1.5 million years showed that meat had become crucial for brain development in early humans. It's thought that eating meat regularly triggered changes in our brains, making us the kind of smart apes we are today. Then there's teeth. You can tell a lot by the teeth. Teeth size and shape and even how our jaws fit together tell a story. We have back teeth that are low with rounded cusps that lend themselves well to eating below ground food like roots and tubers. Our crooked teeth are probably the result of cooking food. Cooking opened up a new way of getting nutrients, and as we started softening our food by cooking, our jaws got smaller, but our teeth haven't caught up yet, hence all the crowding and crooked teeth. Then about 12,000 years ago, we settled down in communities and started growing our own food rather than foraging or hunting for it. This is commonly called the Neolithic Revolution or Neolithic demographic transition. During this time, This is commonly called the Neolithic Revolution, crowding and crooked teeth. Then about 12,000 years ago, we settled down in communities communities and started growing our own food rather than foraging or hunting for it. This is commonly called the Neolithic Revolution or Neolithic demographic transition. During this time, humans introduced cereals into their diet, the Neolithic founder crops, including wheat, barley, lentils, and peas. Although there's evidence of charred barley and wheat from Israel dating to around 23,000 years ago, there's also some evidence that might move back the introduction of grain into the human diet to about 100,000 years ago. Researchers from the University of Calgary found starch granules on stone tools.
Just how much sleep do you really need? There's been plenty of concern as people spend more time looking at their screens ever later into the night. Previous research has shown that a lack of sleep is associated with a series of problems, ranging from lack of concentration to health effects like obesity and heart disease. But a new study out today finds 7 or 8 hours a night may not be as essential as we think. I went to California to learn more.
They are among the last hunter-gatherers in the world, the Hadza of northern Tanzania, the San of Namibia's Kalahari Desert, and in the Andean foothills of Bolivia, the Chimani. By studying the sleep habits of these three groups, who still live the way humans have for thousands of years, a team of scientists led by UCLA's Jerry Siegel is challenging conventional wisdom about how much sleep we need.
It's absolutely incorrect to think that the more you sleep, the healthier you're going to be.
The study reported today in the journal Current Biology says we in the industrialized world sleep as much as our ancestors did.
There's been speculation
world sleep as much as our ancestors did.
There's been speculation that humans basically used to sleep when it got dark, which would mean they sleep, 10, 11, even 12 hours. But it turns out that's not the case. These groups sleep 5, 6, 7 hours. None of them average over 8 hours of sleep.
Just like us, when the sun sets, these people do not go right to sleep.
There's a thin yellow line here that indicates the light level, and you can see also that they remain awake.
In fact, regardless of what time they go to bed, all three groups on different parts of the planet wake up exactly when one very specific thing happens. And no, it's not the sunrise.
They're sleeping as the temperature falls, and they seem to quite consistently wake up at the lowest point of temperature in the day. So when the temperature stops falling, that's when they wake up. There's been a lot of emphasis on light. And the bad effects of light, and there's no question that light affects sleep. But light may have been connected to sleep largely because of its connection to temperature.
Temperature swings are a thing of the past. Now we just have to turn a dial.
The connection between sleep and many things have been thoroughly studied. Thanks to a smartwatch, I've been a student for the past year and a half trying to figure out how to get a better night's rest. Between late-night check-ins at hotel rooms and early morning flights, I've become a lousy sleeper.
My smartwatch tracks when I'm in deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, when I move around, and how many interruptions I have, and it even gives me a score for the night. But there are much more accurate ways to measure sleep in a lab. So, for the good of the story, I put on a hospital gown and pajamas and got wired up at the UCLA Sleep Disorder Center.
That's a lot of wires.
Yeah, it's, I believe, 32.
Lab manager Joel Rector placed sensors on specific parts of my head to measure electrical activity in my brain, stuck some near my eyes and on my legs to measure even the slightest twitches. Never done.
All these are measuring. Good night.
He's in stage 2 sleep, which is what most people are in for the majority of the night. He's kind of just sleeping quietly.
When I woke up, I had a chat with neuroscientist Alon Avedon, who runs the Sleep Disorders Lab, to tell me what he saw.
Typically, when we ask someone to fall asleep, we don't see them fall asleep in less than 8 minutes. You fell asleep in less than a minute, which means that you're probably sleep deprived.
What could happen if you're chronically sleep deprived?
The data shows that in people who are chronically sleep deprived, the immune system doesn't work as well. They're more prone to develop obesity, diabetes. Cognitive function tends to become depressed.
But what constitutes sleep deprivation? Max Hershkowitz is chair of the National Sleep Foundation and a guest lecturer at Stanford Medical School. He recently convened a panel of experts to recommend how much sleep we should get.
7 to 9 hours. It's a range. Now, 6 may be appropriate under unusual circumstances, but otherwise 7 to 9, somewhere in there.
There is no shortage of pills that try to deliver those 7 to 9 hours.
Sleep better, sleep longer.
There's a land of restful sleep. We can help you go there.
And that concerns Siegel.
The thing that alarms me is this thought that, and this was the motivation for undertaking the study to find out if this was true, that we used to sleep much more and that we need to increase our sleep from whatever number we get to be closer to 10, 11 hours of sleep. The data that we've gathered indicates that's not the case.
In fact, these people Siegel studied average less than 6.5 hours, and they seem fine.
In general, the adults are more healthy than those in our society. They may, for some reason, need less sleep, but there certainly doesn't seem to be any negative consequence resulting from their sleep pattern.
They also don't appear tired during the day. They hardly nap, and they sleep soundly when they do.
One thing we found is that these groups have very little insomnia, maybe at 1/10 the incidence we have. And so there's something different there that's going on.
That something will take more research to figure out. So, back to the lab, or in this case, back to bed.